we're with Make Nashville. So we have kind of a little bit of everything as far as what these guys do.
Yep.
I'm Miranda Nelson, so I'm currently the board president for our nonprofit. So we run a nonprofit, and then we also run a makerspace. So we have a facility in East Nashville where we supply tools, and you can come in and get a membership, or you can come to one of our open houses and be able to check things out. We have everything from woodworking to electronics. And Marcus is going to talk a little bit about the cabinet and stuff that he's been working on. Maverick, is there anything you don't do? I mean, pretty much.
I don't sew and I don't do ceramics.
Oh, okay. So we have we have a ceramics lab. We have a sewing lab. We also have, in each of our areas, we have shop captains that can be able to, they have open house nights, so they can come, you can come in, and if you have a project you're working on, you can bring it in. We also have other outside groups, for instance, several cosplay groups. We have a gaming group, those kinds of things that'll come in and have open house nights. So outside of our regular open house, you'll also have other meetups that you can check up on Meetup Online. And then all of our classes are on Eventbrite. And I'm going to let Marcus talk a little bit about his cabinet and your build. And
Okay. So my name is Marcus. I recently got a free gaming cabinet that my wife was not too excited about at first.
You're welcome.
Yeah, everybody's welcome. So when I got it, they basically said that it was in good condition and it worked, but it was not. So I basically just gutted it, replaced it with a computer, and hooked up all the electronics through what's called a Teensy. Which is like an 18 mega based microcontroller, but it's designed to be a like HID device, a human input device. So basically tearing it down, figuring out how to rewire everything, what wires go to what, because nothing's labeled, and then coding it up through the microcontroller so that when you hit one button, it sends like a joystick button, or the steering wheel, which is actually a potentiometer, making that so that it actually sends like a joystick x-axis movement. And what I've got it set up for right now is Rocket League. So when you actually set it up, it auto turns on, it loads up Steam, and then it starts up Rocket League, and then setting it up so that all the default buttons are what Rocket League expects, and you can play it. All the sound works through both the speakers and the seat. And then pretty soon I've actually got somebody I'm gonna sand it down and get it custom painted. So he's pretty excited about doing that, and then figure out where it goes from there.
Yeah, because right now it is green. Very, very, very.
I'm gonna keep the green.
Oh.
But it's no longer gonna say like San Francisco Rush. So he's excited to do something. I gave him. He's a good artist, and I gave him free roam. I just said just do something night or sky or city or car.
Very cool.
So we'll see what he does. I don't even know. I'm just gonna drop it off to him, and I'll actually be replacing that with a different arcade cabinet that he wants me to fix. So going through that. And that's going to be the trade-off, is me fixing their cabinet and then painting it up. So it should be completely custom inside and out.
Of course, I guess that's a lot of what we do, too. We do a lot of trade-off work.
Yeah.
You know, I've got electronic stuff that I know we worked on, so I'm going to let you do it, and then I'm going to do this other work for you kind of thing. So I think we do a lot of that stuff, too. We do a lot of commission work, too, I would say.
Yeah. One of the more interesting things that we did fairly recently was the kiln that we have in our ceramic studio.
That was interesting.
It's about, 20 years old, 25 years old, something like that. And it's got one of those typical little decal-like squish keyboard things on it for the control panel on it. And it finally just gave up the ghost. So the heat from the kiln and just age cracked all the little contacts in this little membrane keyboard thing. And so the kiln finally died and they couldn't turn the thing on anymore. So we pulled the control panel off this thing. It turns out getting a replacement one of these little membrane keyboards is like $200 or something absurd like that. And pulled the thing off of it. We traced out how all of the circuitry worked on the back of this little membrane keyboard. And then we built a replacement control panel for this thing in our electronics lab using actual momentary contact switches as opposed to little membrane keys. We measured and mapped out the size of the control panel and cut a new one out of a piece of acrylic with our laser cutter, and then pulled the sticker off the front of the original membrane keyboard and stuck it back on the control panel, wired it all back up to the kiln, and they ran it for the first time last night.
I wondered how it looked the same. I didn't know if y'all digitally reprinted what you had,
just
or
literally we just
glued it back on,
off and then glued it back on the new panel that we built.
Joel cut the image file up in like 30 minutes. I was impressed.
Yeah. So, It was a group project. I worked on it. The guy who runs our 3D printers worked on it. 3 or 4 people worked on it at the same time. Mm-hmm. But this is just like one of the random things. It's like, yeah, we can fix anything in here if you want to.
I think it's a lot of what we end up doing is somebody ends up starting a project and then they go to somebody else and say, hey, look, can you help with this? Or somebody else that gets excited about it. I mean, I know that's how the Power Wheels kind of came about is that, one person got excited about doing it and they shared it with others. And, there's so much that goes into one of those vehicles that you have to have multiple people helping work on those.
And that's actually the cabinet that I'm working on with the steering wheel. I was talking to Will. And in the next few weeks, because the steering wheel could do more, and it's starting to fall apart. So we had talked about we're going to keep, it's basically like almost plasti dipped almost with like a rubber coating around it. We're going to pull that off, and he's going to, because he knows CAD and I don't. So we're going to try to remap it with an actual plastic one, and I'm going to set up paddle shifters on it. So we can actually have the steering wheel do more than just be a steering wheel. We're going to try to actually print tactile paddle shifters on it.
That's great.
That'll be awesome.
You should put horn buttons on it too.
Just actually put a siren inside of it that fires off. Because I won't make that electronic. I'll just make that loud.
Yeah.
Well, how race cars have the buttons on the.
Oh yeah. So we'd actually talked. So there's a lot of blank space on the steering wheel because the thing was made in like 1994. That's just a giant piece of steel hooked up to just a small potentiometer. We had talked about, because right now, the only way to actually manage the computer itself, like once you're in a game, the buttons work, that's fine. But there's no up-down, right? You just have a steering wheel, which is left-right, and you can't really go to Rocket League and mess with that. So I have one of those little tiny $20 like RFID keyboards. It's like a full keyboard in small form. And that works really well, but we had talked about, instead of having that just stashed on the side or something, because I've got a 3D printed housing for it, instead is when we make the paddle shifters, just having like a housing on the keyboard itself. Because you're not really going to play it in the game with the keyboard. You've got all the buttons to do that. But then in between, instead of having to like find where the remote is and do other stuff, it could just be right there, and then you can use the keyboard where it is instead of try to make it part of the cabinet itself.
Yeah, I was just thinking because hitting the button down there and the one over here is not hard when you can't do some of the moves very easily.
And we had talked about doing a like a D-pad almost where your thumb would be, like you're talking about right there, because then at least you have the ability like to move up and down and some other stuff. But at that point, it's no longer even close to what it originally was. I've already added a few buttons since, and just used a hole saw to cut in and lay in some more buttons.
Sounds like you guys
are you documenting this somewhere?
So I'm at a tech conference this week, and I have very little work responsibility for those days. So I've already told them I'm documenting some of my work stuff, but on my offhand, there's a few blog posts that I like to catch up on. I've taken pictures from start to finish. So my goal is to actually get those in line and actually do less of a tutorial, but more of like how I approach this problem, because those are the blog posts that I like, and showing like why I rewired it instead of trying to fix it. Because I've got pictures, there were stray unterminated wires just hanging inside of it. So I've got that all documented. I've got a few iterations of like where I added the holes and stuff like that, and a few pictures from the Maker's Fair from when people were playing on it, and like why I went back and added more buttons. So I'll have a big actual blog post soon. I'm hoping in the next day or two.
I wish you had brought it.
Yeah, it's so heavy. I'm not looking forward to giving it to the guy that's gonna paint it.
Yeah, we had that was one of the big hits at Maker Fair this year was getting to play that game and stuff, and it was
loud. There were
loud.
A few times I felt like I had to stop a few people because kids were just getting so.
Oh yeah, it was so
you could tell their parents were using it as like a negotiation tactic.
Yeah, you can go play this game for 30 minutes, and we'll go do this.
And the cool thing is because it's so old, because I was a little afraid at first. I jerry rigged a lot of stuff to make it for the Maker's Fair, that I went back and fixed since. But I was afraid because I knew there were going to be a lot of like 3 to 5 year olds just slamming it left and right. And because it's so old and so heavy, you can't even tell. The thing is just made rock solid. It's all steel linkages, and there's like a steel stopper on the steering wheel. So I mean, I could drop it off anywhere, and I'm not even worried. As long as I don't like reach in the back and start messing with stuff, it's indestructible as far as I'm concerned.
So in other words, what you need to add now is an ejector seat.
Yeah, there you go.
Your 5 minutes are up.
Your time is up. You're ejected.
Find a way to make use of that 90 amp motor that's on the inside to just shake the chair uncontrollably.
You shake it until you stop playing. Get out.
Either you add an airbag to the center.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. Just a slapper.
No, put the airbag in the seat. So
I feel it would be more effective to just annoy them just slightly enough where they don't want to play. Like it'll just start jamming the steering wheel for you, so then they just get mad and quit out of frustration.
Yeah,
Very good.
I just wish you had brought it so that the arcade guys that just don't even leave that room would.
I've already gotten a little flack on it because I didn't go back and do it originally. There's a lot of, we'll say, pride in restoring machines that I have violated.
Yes.
Oops.
Yeah, how dare you take a machine that could be restored
And that was originally when I came to the decision, because I was like, I can go back and I could spend a few $100 fixing it as is, but then I'm left with San Francisco Rush. I was like, or I can spend those same few $100s and get it to play pretty much anything that involves a steering wheel.
Yeah.
And
That
like
would
you said, it's
probably
been a
be the
big hit.
best option.
Yeah, it's been a big hit.
Yeah,
hey, I'm with
it really
you.
is.
That's why I sent it to you guys. The link. It's like I could tell just from the pictures that were posted that it was roached.
Well, and I love now because after that, everybody will send us pictures. Now we've gotten a couple more that have come in, and it's like, okay, this is not something we necessarily were.
I feel like because he was, as soon as I dropped it off, the look on his face, I was like, oh God, what'd I do?
Well, so part of the back history is when we first opened the space, of course we get donations of random materials and other stuff to work on. And somebody brought in there was two of them. There was the 6-man arcade version of X-Men that we had in the space forever. It's here. We finally, it finally got. Yeah. Well, it finally got fixed and it finally got donated, but it lived in the space forever. And also at the same time, there was this coin-operated,
Is that the
shooter
dinosaur
gambling thing? This dinosaur hunter thing. And it was somebody was going to fix the arcade cabinet, and it sat there forever and ever and ever and ever.
And we finally got rid of it.
And finally, I just like, all right, it's over. And I took a screw gun to this thing, took it apart, and threw it away. And so, like, a week after we finally got rid of this arcade cabinet that had been there for 2 years, Marcus comes in and goes, "Hey guys, guess what I got?"
The look on his face, I was like, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that."
Oops, never mind.
And I'm guessing because I'm a relatively new member, it was like, "Oh, yay."
Yeah, well,
Not this again.
Not this again. But the difference was that Marcus actually was working on it most of the time he's been there.
Well, he's active
And actually
in the
got
project.
it running, so it's like, hooray! So let's keep that trend going as opposed to the previous trend.
Anybody have any questions?
I mean, when you say people donate materials, like what type of things? 'Cause,
I brought in angle iron the other day.
Mm-hmm.
like, I used to work in the auto industry.
Yeah.
And we would like import these giant rolls of leather from Japan.
Yeah.
And it would get here and they'd be like, the project's canceled. And it's like,
Oh, we would totally take that.
Oh,
See how
yes.
excited he just
Oh,
got?
our we have a master seamstress that would just absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
work there anymore, but
No, we
like,
take
when
pretty
that
much
would happen,
anything.
And we would just have to sell it for scrap at a huge
Yeah.
loss. It's just,
So anything that is useful building material type stuff, so angle iron, lumber, sheet goods,
Any metal.
canvases, leather, lots of fabrics and stuff like that.
Canvases. I heard that. We have children that like to
Canvas-
paint a lot.
Yeah. A lot of that stuff is really useful. Storage for us is kind of an issue sometimes. So, like a month ago, we had one of our members come by and say, that worked at a place that did cabinetry laminations. It's like, hey, my boss is going to throw away some acrylic and some plywood that's really nice laminates and some veneers and stuff. Do you guys want it? We're like, sure, bring it on. And then he showed up with a box truck.
Yeah.
But it was all like stuff that was way too valuable to throw away. But we had to, find a place to store it. So we have like half a dozen 6x8 sheets of plywood that are walnut veneered and bamboo veneered and full sheets of acrylic and stuff like that. That someone will eventually make something out of. So
Now we just have to find projects for
yeah,
it.
we already, so we take donations and everything. And we have donated spray paint and glue and chemicals for doing.
Yeah, we had a
model making and
We had a movie company in town that was they did props for movies and local theater. So we had I know Mav and I went and scavenged there, and we found all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, pretty much anything we can use for painting or building or electronics is a big thing for us too. People will get rid of old things that don't work anymore, and they think they have no value. And we can take them apart and make them have value again. So
yeah.
like 400-pound non-working arcade machines.
Well, yeah,
There's
yeah.
that, yeah.
Sometimes it's easier if they're smaller
Yeah.
pieces of things.
Like we had someone donate what was parts of a pick and place machine for electronic components.
Oh, yeah.
This thing it was only half of it. Like the other half disappeared someplace else. But we took the thing apart because it had a whole bunch of really nice linear rails in it. Had a whole bunch of nice stepper motors and drivers for running stepper motors. Whereas the sort of thing that you take these pieces apart and you think, okay, later down the line when someone wants to build another CNC machine or a home-built laser or a plasma cutter or something like that, all these components are really useful for making something like that from scratch, as opposed to having to go, buy them from somewhere for.
Well, I think one of the things I'd never realized too is we had a bed frame that got broken at our house that was an all metal bed frame. The guys went nuts over it. They're like, "Yeah, bring it in. We can weld on that." I was like, "Okay, y'all can have it."
What is the process and like membership life cycle? Like becoming a member, expectations.
I mean, it depends on what you want to do. There are several different ways you can go. A lot of what I tell people when they're coming in off the street is how often are you going to use? Because normally the amount of time you spend there, the number of times a week you want to be there is what's going to gauge which membership you use. We have a $35 a month supporter membership, and you can come up to 3 times a month. Then our $75 full membership is basically unlimited access. The first 30 days, you do have limited access just so we get to know you and you get to know us. We make sure that you're a good fit and that you're comfortable with, taking the classes to get, the intro to woodworking if you want to learn how to woodwork, or the intro to welding if you want to learn how to weld. So we can get you up to speed on our equipment and everything, because we do have some pretty dangerous things there that you could get hurt on. And then we also have some very expensive equipment that $4,000 or $5,000 piece of equipment. We don't want that broken, so we have classes that you can take and get, or we've had people that have come in too that used to be welders. So we come in, they meet with one of our guys that are in the welding shop, they pass them on the test, and then they can start working there. We have a 30-day period where you don't have, if you have the $75 membership, where you don't have keyed access, but after 30 days, we have just a little bit of requirement as far as filling out some paperwork, and then you'll get keyed access, and you can actually get in 24 hours a day. We do have people that work kind of pretty much around the clock. We have some real late nighters. They work days, and so they'll come in the evenings to work. We have some people that work second or third shift, so they'll come in and
I come in really early right before I go to work just to kind of either get stuff settled or started. So I'm usually there at 6.
So we have people that work kind of different times all around the clock. And then we have a couple of events that we put on during the year. Maker Faire, we kind of touched on it earlier, was one of the big ones. And basically what Maker Faire is supposed to be, it's supposed to be a showcase. So like for instance, Marcus came and he had his game project. We have people that brought projects in robotics or electronics or art. So anything that somebody's working on or working with, they can bring and set up an exhibit and show off what they're working on. And it can be in progress, or it can be something that you finished, or we have some people that have been working on projects and then they turned it into a business. And so they come back and they become an exhibitor or a vendor, and then they sell the things that they make. So it's a little bit of everything. And we have it once a year in the fall. It's going to be in October of 2019. It'll be the 5th and 6th. So, yeah, we just set dates. By the way, guys, it's going to be October 5th and 6th.
Oh, nice.
They don't even know that yet.
Yeah. Also at Vanderbilt's Wondery again this year.
Yeah, it's at Vanderbilt again this year.
Cool.
Yeah, Vanderbilt's been a really big supporter of us. It's been awesome. It's an awesome partnership.
Yeah, I'm from the Nash Game Dev group.
Oh, okay.
We hold our global game jam, our big annual event at the Wondery.
They've been awesome.
Yeah.
I think my old company hosted y'all a few times too.
I'm sorry?
I think my old company hosted you guys a few times too.
The Iron Yard?
Olympa?
Olympa?
I think we hosted it once or twice.
Maybe before I joined.
Cool.
That's cool. Any other questions?
Does the guy making the organite work at, or come to the Makerspace?
The which guy?
He was at the Maker Fair and he was making Morganite.
I don't think so. What was his name? Yeah, it doesn't ring a bell. It's very possible though. We have.
Yeah, I haven't met all our members, and I've been there almost a year, so I'm not sure. Do you remember where he was?
Outside.
He was the outside on Saturday, and I moved him inside on Sunday. I know what you're talking about. No, I've been in contact with him, but I don't know that he's come over to us yet. He's talked about it. I think he wanted to do some classes or something too on what he's doing. And that's the other thing too. I mean, if you've got a class idea or something, we're always looking for new teachers and stuff to come in and teach your thing and make some money. So
I was actually talking to Matt about a keyboard class since I make computer keyboards.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Actually making mechanical keyboards from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We have, and you don't have to be a member to be an instructor as well.
No, you do not.
The way the instructor process works is we basically have a fill out form to make sure that you can get all the details for getting the class list on Eventbrite, and then we know what parts of the facility you need for your class. So if you need the electronics lab versus the classroom versus the wood shop or something else, and then from there it's just you deduct the cost of whatever your materials are for the class, and then the rest you split 50-50 with Make Nashville. And so instructors set their own price for the class as well. So you can kind of figure out if you want to make $20 a head for each student that comes through the door, you can double that and then add the cost of what your materials are, and ta-da, there's your ticket price. And then we do all the scheduling and making sure that the space is set up ahead of time, getting it posted on Eventbrite and Facebook and all that stuff.
Do you have anybody that specializes in walking through or teaching Kickstarter?
No, we don't. I mean, most of the stuff that we tend to teach as far as in classes is usually hands-on.
Yeah, I was just
build
like,
a thing type classes.
I
But
have an idea to build a thing, but
no,
it would
but
have to be kickstarted, and
That's one of the things we had talked about. We had talked about not only Kickstarter classes.
just like kind of how to come and kickstart
How to market.
your project that you're.
yeah.
Yeah,
If you
we
know
talked
somebody that wants
about
to teach it,
marketing
send them our way.
No,
Yeah.
that's the problem. I don't.
Maybe that's something we need to look for.
Yeah.
No, because we had somebody that, and we have also somebody that sells their items. Because a lot of our people make things, and then they get to that point, and they're like, "Well, what do I do with the things they make now?" And so we did have a girl that's talking about putting together classes on, marketing your items and selling them and where to sell them and those kinds of things. Through venues like Etsy and that kind of thing.
Oh, cool.
So I think we'll round back with them, but yeah,
I just didn't know how many of your people have done Kickstarters that might be able to kind of cobble together
Well, shoot, I know a couple of people that have done Kickstarters. I probably could get in touch with one of them to teach.
Yeah. And we know plenty of people who have participated in Kickstarter projects.
Well, I know
So
they
they know
pay
the other
to it,
side of
but
it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I have a couple of people in the board gaming industry that do Kickstarters for some of their projects.
Oh,
So
cool.
probably should look. I know John.
I know somebody that's
I can't think of his
done
last
a
name
little
right
bit of
now.
Kickstarter and Mass Drop, if you know what Mass Drop is. It's kind of like Groupon, but more. It's less about making something and selling it, more about getting group orders on something that's already in fabrication.
Right.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And back to you're talking about the blog posting thing. One of the things we're also on the lookout perpetually for is someone who is interested in videography and that type of stuff to follow people around the space and make pictures of things as they're working on it. Because what happens a lot of times, we have people who get heads down in whatever it is they're building, and they forget to stop and make a single photograph. And by the time you get to the end, you're like, "That's amazing! Should you have build pictures of this thing?" It's like, no, sorry. It's like,
That's not a paid position. That's a volunteer position.
well,
or a member position, right?
well, we're looking for somebody to do that, but the organization, no one's paid. It's a 501c3. 501c3. There you go. Not for profit. That's entirely volunteer run. So no one's getting paid for nothing unless you're an instructor getting paid for your classes. So yeah, we're looking for someone that's interested in doing that is just part of their interest is being a videographer and perfecting their craft. So
I mean, it looks good on a portfolio, right?
Oh,
to
yeah.
say that that's what you do.
There's several here, or there were yesterday. I don't know.
We'll definitely send them our way as far as name was, and I've got a card that you can take, and you've got my contact information. But yeah, I know I had a photographer that came in. I don't know, did he come Friday night? Were you there Friday night?
There was a guy Friday night that was really interested in like
Dark hair, glasses.
maybe.
Yeah. So that's the friend of mine that did the photography for me. He did it for us last year at Maker Fair.
Okay.
And then this year again.
You might have talked to him already, Matt Proctor.
Name sounds familiar.
Names.
But yeah, we're and they're right. One of the biggest problems that we have right now is just getting our name out there, because of course the people in the area that know us, the people that have come to Maker Fair, they've learned about us and that kind of thing. But he's right. We're not great at documenting projects and what we're doing there. Not only that, we're not, at this point in time, we haven't been great about documenting what we have or what we do. And so we're working. One of the reasons with the photographer is we're working towards getting that visual element for the website and for when we go out and do things like this, so people can go, oh, I wanted to learn how to use that machine, and there you have a picture of it, so you obviously have one, and then that helps to build that rapport, and so people can talk about it and go, hey, I want to know more about that, and so they come in.
In the video lab, do you have a workstation quality editing computer at all?
Sort of. It's it's underpowered for but it's serviceable.
Right.
There again, everything in the space is either on loan from one of the members or it's a donated piece of equipment. So. It'd be nice if someone would come along and go, here's your multi-$1,000 editing machine. But that hasn't happened yet.
If only you knew somebody that worked at News Channel 5.
If only we did.
Yeah.
No, he walked out of the room.
Yeah.
Another one is people don't realize that, like, even though they have, because I didn't even know, is that even though you have a lot of 3D printers, that, like, if somebody was willing to pay for, like, getting it printed, a lot of people are like, oh, it'd be really cool to have that 3D printed, and then that's the end of the conversation. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, I told one or two people, like, either I can print it for you or you can just take it to Make Nashville and talk to one of the people there, and I'm sure you can work something out.
Yeah, we take commissions all the time. I think that's been one of the biggest things lately is people all of a sudden have discovered, oh, hey, I want to make this thing. I saw it on wherever, but I don't know how to make it, and I don't want to take the time to learn how to make it. Well, we have people there that can make it for them.
Because the hardest part is creating the CAD file.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
and there's several of us that do a lot of CAD stuff too.
And we do have that new design program though too. I'm excited about working more with to do a lot of website stuff and that kind of thing.
If only somebody was working on a logo for his group and hadn't left.
Do you need like 5 minutes to go chase the person to keep looking for down
I need to go talk to him after.
He started at Maker Fair working on a Music City Geeks logo to be 3D printed.
Well, actually, all you've really got to have is just a SVG of the logo you want. Mm-hmm. I took the one. So Cosplay Collective has their particular logo that's done as an SVG, and it's kind of done in like a comic book color sort of scheme, where it's not like a lot of blended gradients. It's all cell shaded. And I took that logo and treated each of the different colors in the cell as a height difference, and then I CNC'd their logo out, and then they come back and painted it different colors. Turned really nice. You do the same thing with that.
I'm sure like you can do it in 10 minutes. And Chris took 5 hours to get one letter.
Well, I don't know about that part.
Yeah. Well, actually, I offer a class on how to run the CNC machine that covers how to do this sort of stuff. So.
Well, and I think the big thing too is that you guys did some great stuff in acrylics and did some cutout keychains, and that's the good thing too is that once you get that logo or whatever, we can turn it into other things. Yeah. Because they made me some, from when I'm on the road and traveling, they made me some little keychains out of acrylic. The guys also 3D printed me, Will and them 3D printed me some cool little flippy Make Nashville things, and then the new spinner thing he made, like every time I go somewhere, if I take those, they're gone in like an instant because the kids love them.
Cool.
So, but yeah. Anything else?
And does it all have to be physical things that you make? Like could the Nash game demo?
Oh, yeah. Well, and we also have space. Yeah, I guess that's one thing we haven't touched on yet. We also have space that we either rent out to companies to come in and use. We have, we just now acquired some new working space. So we have some, I think there's a painter that's going to come in and he's going to get one of the slots. So you can come in and do your thing and store your stuff there, especially people that work on different things. And want to be able to have some place they can leave their stuff, they can store it. So we're renting out space for that too. But then also too, there's some local groups. I know there's a couple of companies that are going to be hosting just some small events because we do have a small event space. It would probably hold 40, 50 max, standing room kind of thing. And then but we're starting to have some different events there and stuff too. And that's something that as we move, because we're going to be moving at the end of February into a new facility, we're still going to be in the same general kind of 10 minutes from where we are kind of space or time range. But that's something else that we're looking forward to doing too, because like groups like what you had, we want to be able to offer you guys a lower discounted or trade-off kind of thing. You guys are going to help us with this, and we're going to let you host your group there for free kind of thing. So we do make those kinds of groups. I know Cosplay Collective comes in and does some build nights. We have a couple other groups that are, one of them is going to start a knitting thing there, and then another one's going to be doing some game night stuff. So we do host some of those other events too. We also have classroom space. So we have a classroom of, I would say, 10 or 12, and then another open area of maybe 15 or 20. So we do some of that too, to where you can come in and have a meeting or something there. And it gives us the opportunity to be able to show off what we have. And we've gotten a lot of members that way too. They've come in for something else and then gone, oh, wow, I didn't even know this was here. I want to build this thing. Can we do this here? So it's helped a lot with that too.
I joined by donating my 3D printer.
Oh, that's right.
Because I've known Maverick for a while, and I always knew what make was, and I knew where it was, but I just never gone in there. Mm-hmm. And when I dropped it off, I was like, oh, I could actually get some stuff done here. And then I just went ahead and joined up.
Yeah. As far as the making of non-physical things, a lot of the people that are there, their day job is being software developers or software engineers or computer people of some type. So it's like, yeah, we could have a bunch of classes on programming, but I don't really want to, because it's what you do is your day job, and it's kind of
that's why I'm there soldering at night.
Well,
I'm always like, I'm going to do something physical, and then I get 3 hours into coding something. I'm like, oh, man.
Well, and I think a lot of times too is it's kind of like whatever your original passion was before you got that job that we all have now that we have to work. Right. I'm in data analytics, and so yes, I could teach a class on data analytics or business management, but that's not what I want to do all day long or all night long when I have free time. So so we can come in and paint or build or do whatever that thing that we always wanted to do, and we didn't necessarily have the space to be able to do it or the time to be able to do it. So it's really nice.
A 4-year-old, and you can't really have a 14-inch bandsaw at the house.
Yeah, or and it's access too. For a lot of people, like I'm blessed that I have a house, that my husband has turned our garage into a mini maker space. But a lot of people don't have that. They don't have that equipment. And so, and especially, and I think we've seen a little bit more foot traffic too with people that live in apartments in the area. They can come in and have some place to do these things that they wouldn't normally be able to do, and build their stuff and make things and learn. Also, I've learned so much. I've been there because I actually got started from the Maker Faire because that's what I do. I do event planning, and so I came in with the Maker Faire a couple years ago and never knew that you guys were there. Honestly, I hadn't Matt not roped me in sideways to doing Maker Faire, but you get there and you find, like I was just telling him, when's your next cutting board class? Because I need to make my mom a Christmas present, and find things there. And I've learned so much over the last year. Just I've never had any interest in electronics. My husband does all that stuff, but now it's like I can solder now, and I can do some of the things that I've always wanted to learn how to do. I found the time now to be able to learn it, and I can go to Maverick and say, hey, I went to him a couple months ago and said, hey, I want to learn how to use the laser. And so, we just kind of put a class together and learned how to use the laser. So
I actually talk to people all the time because with what I do, there's a lot of remote workers. Mm-hmm. And so I do a lot of volunteering for people that are about to graduate and kind of telling them what the world is actually like and stuff like that. And I tell them there's a lot of value in actually, the remote is great, mm-hmm. but there's a lot of value, especially when you're first starting out or when you don't know things, to be around people that do. Mm-hmm. Because even if you don't know what they're talking about, there's a lot of crosstalk that you can pick up on. And being at the space or whatever, I know a little bit about wood, and I know enough to just cut terribly things. But hearing him talk to other people about the planer and all this other stuff that I've never even seen used, I feel like I can actually now hold a conversation. And I now know different types of wood. There's so much I've picked on just hearing it behind me that mm-hmm. You don't get at home or at your day job and stuff like that. Because when people go there and they're doing other stuff, there's a lot of cool conversations you get to hear.
Well, and it's things like, welding. I would have never thought that I ever wanted to learn how to weld. And then I found some of the cool stuff they were making at Christmas last year. And I was like, okay, so this year when we start classes, I want to learn how to do that. And but it's that kind of thing where you just, you find more things that interest you that you never would have. And I think a lot of it, too, is the community. It's nice. Like you said, it's nice to be able, I've had people that have contacted me and said, hey, look, I'm stuck on this project. And so, and then I'll say, well, let me put you in touch with so-and-so. They can help you, figure out where you're stuck. And I think that's a lot of people on the Friday nights, on the open house, on Friday nights, they come in and bring a project they're stuck on, or they need to use one thing, and they come in and they get help with using that one thing or doing that one thing. And it's a great for the community to be able to have access to it.
I think he'd like to hear about the video computer lab that you have, what's available.
I wish we had somebody here that was terribly on what we have. I know this child over here uses that lab quite a bit. We do have a green screen.
Playing video games is not using it.
Well, I mean, technically she uses it. We do have a video or a green screen. We do have some video recording equipment. I don't know what we've got
a couple of decent cameras. We have a fairly good collection of microphones at this point.
Yeah, we've
got some nice microphones of this style for public performance. We've actually got a couple of good nice podcasting style studio microphones. We have a nice set of studio monitors. There's stands and cables galore. We've got a couple of mixers. We've got, there's a PreSonus audio interface for doing recording.
Because I think there's somebody that has a podcast. I know that we've done that in the past.
Yeah.
There was also somebody that came in and did some video editing for some school projects, that kind of thing.
Yeah. As far as specs on the actual machines that are set up in the lab, there's one Macintosh of some flavor, and then the other one is Frankenstein built computer that's, I think it might be an i7. I'm not even sure what's actually in it. So
some computer stuff to work with.
Yeah.
And I'm learning my way through, and I can't even think of the name of it. What's the design program we just bought?
Adobe Creative Suite.
Oh yeah, so we just bought Adobe Creative Suite, and that's what I'm learning my way through right now, as a much needed website boost. But yeah, that's my big project right now is learning that thing and how to use it.
Have you had any contact with Nashville 2600?
I have not.
No, I don't think so.
They're looking for a hackerspace, and they...
Oh, really?
I would love, I mean, if you got contact information or have them contact us, that'd be great. We'd be more than happy to talk to him.
I have screen names, basically. That's what everybody goes
Well, and yeah, I mean, if you want to forward them, I mean, I can give you my email or something. You can just forward it to
Well, I
them.
told them to at Freaknik, I told them to look you guys up.
Oh, yeah.
Check it out. I guess they haven't done it yet.
I'd love to talk to him. I do a lot of like information security and
So you guys
electronics
just
hacking.
need to reach out from your end.
And it's what is it called?
Nashville 2600.
Nashville 2600.
Okay.
And for you, well, don't get into that.
Oh, and then, well, and one of the guys that works with me on Hypericon was at Freaknik, so I'll ask him about it
Who
too,
runs it?
and see if he knows who runs it.
But yeah, a lot of those guys were at Freaknik and
Yeah.
have a lot to do with Freaknik.
Well, I have a guy.
Touching it at the end too. Okay. The actual 2600. Because they're kind of separate now.
Yeah, we have a guy, another nonprofit that I work with. There's a guy named Oddball that's been to Freaknik, I think, every year that it's been there. But I'll ask him about it too and see if he knows
Why
who.
do you talk about Oddball like I don't know Oddball?
Oh, that's true. You do know Oddball. It's sad that it took me a year and a half to realize that his first name was actually Michael. No, I'm just not allowed to say his middle name.
You don't mix screen names. And, but yeah, I mean, we're like the only two gun geeks around.
He's got some really cool 3D printed stuff.
No, that's not necessarily true. There's quite a few actually.
We have a slew of them at Make Nashville.
Yeah,
actually.
really.
Yeah, they were talking about going to the range a couple of weeks ago.
I didn't know that.
Trying to talk Michael or Oddball.
I know my husband will go anytime.
Let me know as well.
Did you see? There we go.
We got 5 people right here ready to go.
Rootin' tootin'.
Have a model 1910 FM.
Oh, nice.
I just got my hands on an original CZ75.
And the conversation takes a left turn.
Yeah.
Do you
It's
have
still about making.
You don't have anybody that does gunsmithing at all?
I know a guy, but
Not in this shop.
There's not someone in
No,
the
we
shop,
don't.
but there's 1 degree, playing the Kevin Bacon game. There's 1 degree away from several gunsmiths.
Although I don't know, there are a couple of people. I mean, they don't do it at Make Nashville because that's unfortunately that's really not anything that we can. Well, no, we don't.
Well, there's a Bridgeport mill. We don't have
Yeah.
another lathe, but there's the laws are really touchy.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Anytime you start,
to build the gun yourself,
it's still a gray area.
It's still a gray area.
Really
What we
touchy
can and can't
about-
do.
It's really touchy gray area about if you are a company that provides access to tools, and then and then there's like
It has a lot to do with our nonprofit.
In
Status.
certain areas, the rule is as long as you're the person that presses the go button on the CNC machine, then you're the one that built it, and it doesn't matter who owns it.
It's been a hot topic though, even that much with the 80% because of the 3D printer.
Yeah,
Well, the
patents that
3D
just
printed
went
stuff.
live.
80% lower, and you've got the Liberator 3D printed. Yeah.
Well, with the new metal printing now.
Yeah, metal
Fused.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. FSM? Is that what it is?
Generally, those
Fuse
can't
metal.
hold up very well.
It's FM something. It's Fuse Metal something or other is the acronym.
Right. Okay.
We need one of those.
That'd be nice.
Anything we missed? I'm trying to think. I'm wildly going through my head going, we talk about this, we talk about this.
Are you
not really.
about like new space footprint, or do you have any clue yet?
It's going to be similar right now to where we are. I mean, we're not planning on decreasing the size of any of our. I mean, that is something that we're hoping for right now. A lot of it's going to be what we find. I know we've narrowed it down to 5 or 6 right now.
5 or 6 places, yeah.
We have a board meeting next week to kind of figure out exactly what we can do and where we're going to be with that. Because obviously for us, it's a pressing issue. The end of February is when we need to move.
There's 5 or 6 places in the running.
Yeah.
All within the 440 sort of loop of downtown.
Yeah.
With one exception being there's the guy who bought Corsair Distilleries. He's in the Nations, so it's just outside the 440 loop. It's over near TSU. Big industrial warehouse type place. But
And we'd love Derek.
yeah, and the places that we're looking, it's all about finding
feel like I saw a warehouse space at that corner of 40 and 65 or whatever towards Nations that might be available.
Possibly. We've looked at a whole bunch of stuff, and in fact, the same guy who owns the building we're in right now owns another building a couple of streets off of Charlotte Pike near Centennial Park that he is renovating to do the same type of thing. You know, a lot of industrial, creative types that he might have ready by the time it's time for us to move.
Yeah. I think for us too, a lot of it is the combination of what we're looking for. Because we do still need a kitchen space within it. We need an adequate restroom space. And we also, one of the other things is that we're not truly wholly warehouse. We do need some clean space to work too. So that's kind of what we've been kind of coming up against. We found a lot of one or a lot of the other. So it's that combination that we're kind of playing with now.
Right.
Do you have a paint booth or a what do you call it? The particulate one. I know you have a sand blaster thing, right?
No, we have half a paint booth.
We have half a well, we have space dedicated to finishing out a paint booth. We just need, a volunteer, a group of people to show up on a weekend and it's like
and install the fans and.
Do you have any?
We have the powder coat equipment. But we don't really have a place set up to do it. But we have the room to do it. We just need to cut a hole in the wall, install the filters, install the blowers, et cetera, wire the thing, et cetera. And if you want to help me do that one weekend, just let me know.
That's a lot of what our thing is too, is that once somebody says, hey, can we have this? We're like, yeah, sure. You get people together and we'll make it happen. Because that's one of our big things is that we always want to make sure that, what people want to work on, that we have the ability to work on those things.
Yeah, the phrase we use around the shop is it's a do-ocracy. Yeah. People that do get the ocracy in making decisions about places, and then the other flip of the phrase too is we have people running around the shop it's like, someone should really do this. It's like, yeah, you look like a someone, go do it.
It's always a question of do I have the skill?
Right.
And I have the skill set to poke a hole in the wall.
Well, right.
I think that one does with a sledgehammer.
Well, see, that's part of the thing is rounding up people. Is rounding up people and then getting them all together at the same time to go do fix a paint booth.
Do you have a curing booth for paint with heaters to?
No, but we've got the space. We could build one in. We could take the same half of the paint booth and cordon off one half of it and make a space to cure stuff. Usually, as far as curing stuff goes, most of the stuff that I use is just air cured. So you just wait for it not to be tacky.
The pottery area was usable for that or not?
There's an area near the pottery area or near the ceramic slab that honestly the kiln in there makes it warm enough in there that pretty much anything would cure fairly fast.
Yeah. And the same room that has all the pottery wheels in it, there's another one slightly further down the building. The one we turned into a paint booth.
Oh.
So.
But yeah, no, as far as your original question about the space and everything, we would love to double our space. It's just getting that happy medium of what we need versus what we can find.
Yeah,
right.
Versus $4 per square foot that you're looking at for.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, most of the places that we've been looking at, we've been trying to hit the $7 to $8 square foot mark.
Wow.
And a lot of the places we've looked at, you look at some of these real nice, kind of like ready to move in type places. They're like, yeah, it's $16 a square foot, and we're going, whoa.
Yeah, no.
Okay. I'll need to look it back up, but I saw a $4 square foot place that was under a bridge near the gulch, right next to the train track.
Oh, by all means, look it up and forward it
the
over.
Address. Yeah.
I'll have to look it back up. Because I thought $4 a square foot was outrageous. Because I'm used to, like the last time I looked in the year 2000, it was $2 a square foot, $2 a square foot.
Yeah.
Welcome to the new Nashville.
Yeah, welcome to the new Nashville kind of thing.
So I'm thinking $4, then to hear 8, 16. It's like.
Well, it's also, like she said, warehouse spaces that can not kill humans for sitting there too long when they get
Right.
0 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a lot too. I mean, we do have a lot of people that are in and out all the time. So our big thing too is that balance of temperature control and not running our electric bill to $10,000 a month either.
Well, I mean, one easy way is to get away from the central. Central
Yeah.
tends to lose more heat than if you do room by room, and then you can also control temperatures by if an area isn't used as much, you can cut it off.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's all just, and getting lucky and finding the building that has a lot of that stuff already kind of built into it.
Yeah.
Because I think the one space that I know of would need a lot of framing out and drywall work done before you. But I also know that it's you could do just 2x4 framing and throw it up pretty quick.
Yep.
If only we knew wood people.
Yeah.
If only we knew somebody that could cut framing. If only we knew people that knew drywalling.
Yeah, and we did some of that when we moved into the space that we're in now.
Yeah.
Is framing of walls and that sort of stuff. So no stranger to it.
Yeah, I've done drywall. I'm not the best at it, but I can slap up some drywall and putty it and.
Another new skill I've unfortunately learned how to do.
I just use quarter round to hide all my mistakes.
Yeah, I did all the quarter round and molding in a entire house for Habitat with Humanity. So I learned by my second room, I was pretty proficient at it. Going around with a punch and just tapping it in.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we touched on everything. I wanted to, at least.
Yep.
I think that was
Little girl, do you have any questions? You look like you have a question on your mind. Are you sure?
When's launch?
When's lunch? That's probably what my kids are going to be asking, too.
When can I eat all the jalapenos out there?
Oh, good heavens, no.
Do they have scorpion pepper hot sauce?
Probably not.
Probably not. You're lucky you have jalapenos. Well, thank you, guys.